That was one big question you've asked. How far so far after 6 years in the FCT? But it's a question that we have assembled the right persons and the right personalities to provide answers for us. So quickly to discuss the 6 years of Buhari's administration, focus on the FCT administration, let me introduce first Malam Mohammed Musa Bello, who is the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. Good to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Also with us to discuss this program is the DCP Sunday Babaji, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operations here in the FCT. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and also here with us in the studios, regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria, and shall we say on Abuja or FCT indigene. By long association, Engineer Kashim Malay. Engineer Kashim Malay is chairman of the FCT Water Board and also former president of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN. Engineer Malay, delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay. All right, so we'll begin the conversation with the Honorable Minister of the FCT. 6 years on, that means you've been a minister now for 5.5 years, or thereabout. How far?
Thank you very much. How time flies, you know. 6 years, 5.5 years, basically we focus on infrastructure. Because I recall when I was appointed as minister, towards the fourth quarter of 2015, my team looked at the city, looked at the master plan, and studied all the reports that projected the population growth in Abuja. And in line with the mandate given to me and the general focus of the Buhari administration, we felt that we needed to focus on infrastructure. Why infrastructure? Generally, as you know, infrastructure, whether it's road, whether it's water, whether it's rail, basically it's an enabler. Once you have the right infrastructure, then it enables other aspects of social interaction, economic activities to boom. And that's why we concentrated on completing all the major arterial roads into the city. That was the first phase. And then thereafter, we looked at other roads within the inner city. And then, of course, we looked at rail and water. So the focus was we wanted to make sure that all the projects that were planned for the city in anticipation of the growth in population were completed, or else all the investments done for these projects, even if it was 80%, 85%, as long as you don't complete that incremental 10 to 15%, then all the investment done would have just been wasted. So that's what we concentrated on.
What's your evaluation of what you have done in 6 years in terms of infrastructure? What has changed?
Oh, a lot has changed. When I reflect back, I feel satisfied because let's pick just one major road, and that is the main access into the city from the southern flank. That is from the Gwagwalada airport access. It's a major expressway if you start from the city center right to the junction going to the airport, about 43 kilometers. When the government of President Muhammadu Buhari came in 2015, if you recall, at least 5 bridges on that road were not completed. For you to come into the city, you had to meander through a lot of barriers and so on. And I just looked at it and I felt it didn't make sense for a country like Nigeria. And so we concentrated and we completed all those bridges. If you recall, there were bridges around Kuje, interchange. We completed the interchange. There was the access into the airport itself, and then 1 or 2 other bridges in between Kuje right through to Kuchigoro and maybe the city gate. That's something we did as quickly as possible. And then we introduced a flyover that linked what is called Bill Clinton Avenue going into the airport and the presidential wing. And we created a flyover so that if you were to go into the airport, leave the airport into the city, there was no need for you to meet a junction because you don't join an expressway at a junction. So, and that flyover is well done now. And now, if you reflect, you'll find that if we had not done that, and the way traffic had increased in Abuja, that would have been a problem. And how did we go about it? We just decided, we looked at about 5 major road projects and looked at the budgetary provisions and just concentrated. Instead of spreading the money across so many projects and you end up spending many years without completing one, we concentrated on them. And that's why now you can drive seamlessly from the airport right into the city center without much problem. If we had not done that, looking at what has happened over the last few years with the influx of people in Abuja, Abuja would have just been another Lagos. That's just one aspect. Replicate that on the Kubwa Expressway, on the Nyanya AYA Expressway, and then you see you know what I'm saying. When I reflect back, I feel very satisfied actually. Yes.
There's no doubt. Okay, let me just skip this question. Let me not fast forward. But I would like to ask, in 6 years, I'm sure it has not been rosy for you to manage, the Federal Capital Territory. Has Abuja become unmanageable, difficult to manage?
Well, public service and managing a mega city, growing city that is still, quite frankly, work in progress, has its own challenges. But the advantage of Abuja is, and I'm very happy that Engineer Kashim is here, the bureaucracy in the Federal Capital Territory Administration is quite a mature bureaucracy. I think we have in the entire country the largest concentration of well-qualified engineers and people who are well-versed with infrastructure development. And I think that has been a very big plus for the administration of the city. We have within the system now people who were part and parcel of development of districts from when they were just green field without anything except trees. And they've been able to develop them into communities, into habitable, accommodation of first world-class standard. So having said that, that has been a very good enabler for me to be able to perform. But then, of course, challenges are there because to develop a city like Abuja, you need constant funding and, continuously because infrastructure costs a lot of money. And as you can see, in Abuja, the typical Abuja road is not like your typical Nigerian road because it is developed to be able to cater for stormwater, for foul water, for sewage, for telecommunication ducts, for ducts to pipe water. And as a matter of fact, all the roads have provision for gas. And it's all planned so that at some point in the future, when gas pipelines, especially the AKK that is passing through Abuja from Ajakuta to Kano, is in place, then all we need to do is just to have a gas plant that you pipe to residences. So that's why the roads are very expensive, but they are meant to last a lifetime.
Okay, I still want to take you up on some of your signature projects. You've talked about infrastructure. There's no doubt about that. If you drive around, Abuja, of course, that is evident. But I'm sure that within the master plan, the development is integrated. And when you engage residents in and outside, the capital city, there's a bit of comparison between what obtained in the past, and reference is always made during the Erufai period in terms of transport, in terms of mass housing. And now, is transport and housing part of your focus?
Well, a lot of people confront me with the comparison of Abuja, and everybody looks back at the very golden years of the Erufai administration, and I agree with them. But the reality is, I also tell them that I was a resident of Abuja during that period. Abuja of Erufai's time is just 20% of Abuja of today. That's the reality, both in terms of physical expansion, in terms of population, in terms of all the parameters that you will use to judge a city. So obviously, you cannot compare 20% with 100%. That's the reality. So I agree with you. There is a mismatch between parts of what you call Abuja. Somebody living in a satellite town that is 100 kilometers out of Abuja, outside is still considered as Abuja. But the reality is we have to understand that the federal capital city, its basic federal capital territory, is an area of 8,000 square kilometers divided into two. We have what we call the federal capital city, and that's what is called Abuja, the center of the city itself and all the surrounding satellite towns within this enclave of 250 square kilometers. So naturally, that's the seat of government, and that is the main purpose why the capital was moved to Abuja. So development obviously started from there. But the plan is that these developments will gradually expand in cycles. And that's why even if you look at the road network, we have what we call Ring Road 1, Ring Road 2, Ring Road 3. As a matter of fact, even Ring Road 4 is planned. So these are all coming in centric, circular manner. So that you first of all develop phase 1, which is within the enclave of Ring Road 1. Then you go to phase 2, you go to phase 3. But as time went by, population explosion, economic challenges, obviously there was a mismatch between the rate at which population of Abuja was growing and the rate by which infrastructure was also meeting. But this is something we are trying to bridge the gap. And that's why the administration of Muhammadu Buhari decided consciously to complete ongoing projects within the phases that had already been planned, and thereafter also. And a lot of people who are resident in Abuja also do not appreciate the fact that within the satellite towns, a lot of infrastructure projects are going on. For instance, a few months ago, we opened the Abaji Waterworks. Abaji is about 100 plus kilometers from here, just before the border with Kogi State. They have a water system that is working now, and we also have been rehabilitating road networks within the city. And then you go to some aspects of Yaba, for instance, you will see a lot of roads. In Gwagwalada, a few roads have been done. So it's a dual manner of development, but which is quite frankly constrained with the resources. And that's why yesterday, at the public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution, I advocated for specific constitutional provision for the funding of Abuja. Because quite frankly, Abuja now represents Nigeria for us. It's the center of the country. It's the sign of our unity as a country. And every tribe, every person from every state is in Abuja. And by the time you come to Abuja, we all blend. For instance, Abuja is a place where you find that we have had senators from Kano, senators from Kwara, and we have had members of House of Representatives. People come in and you can stand for election and be elected, and nobody cares from where you come from. So that's why it's very important, even if it means we shave a little bit of resources from all the 3 tiers of government and give some amount for Abuja to develop it as our capital in line with the way we had anticipated based on the founding fathers.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Abuja is growing. Abuja is also the city, some would say, of Abuja politicians who sometimes cause trouble in their home states. So, but we're not getting to that. I just wanted to speak to this other aspect of road infrastructure, because it's a common concern. Those who live on the Abuja-Kefi axis, a number of them, of course, work in Abuja city. What's going on with the expansion of that road? Because the traffic jams there, I understand, often like those you find in Lagos. That's one. And then perennially, I read about and hear complaints about the non-completion of the Karshi-Akpo road. So what is the status of these 2 projects?
The Abuja-Kefi Expressway is a massive infrastructure project by the federal government. And by the time it is done, it's going to ease a lot of traffic coming into the city from that part, the northern, that part of, I think it's northeastern part of the flank of the city. There is already an ongoing construction project. and handled by the Federal Ministry of Works. They are doing, the construction company, as if you notice, has already widened and already brought out the corridor and road alignment. And they are now working on concentrating on the portion from the boundary, I mean the portion from the city of Abuja right through to Karu and beyond Karu. And if that is done, because substantially, like you said, a lot of the population, even though within the city itself, the population is quite huge and large, but substantially many people live in the satellite towns. And the master plan envisaged that. And that's why within the master plan, we have what we call the development areas around the city. And I've been in conversation with His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, and also the Governor of Niger State to see how we can work on to some of these joint developmental projects. So I think that project you just mentioned is work in progress, and I feel with by the time this administration it rounds up sometime in May 2023, that road will have been completed substantially, and then you will have seamless travel into the city from the three major flanks, from the airport flank, from the Suleja Kubwa flank, and then from the Kefi Nyanya flank. Talking about the Karshi-Apo. Karshi-Apo Ara road actually is just 13 kilometers. But it's one road that unfortunately had some initial design challenges and that had continued to, bedevil the project. But I assure you, it's one project that I have spoken on severally, and I can say also gives me sleepless nights once in a while. But we are working on it, and I think it's one project that will get done by the grace of God.
Sorry, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth,
yes,
your Honorable Minister. But I'm sure a lot of people are watching and listening to you,
yes,
specifically on that Karushi road.
Yes.
Your minister, the minister has said it will be done. How soon? What is going to happen? Because work had already started on that road at the time. It was abandoned. And when you came in, you pledged, you made a statement, you promised you were going to take that on. And now it's still a promise that you're making.
Well, the reality is, it's man proposes and God disposes. I mean, that's a very common adage, On that particular road, I have made a number of promises. Frank promises based on information available to me. As a matter of fact, a few months ago, I did say that road will be completed before the onset of the rainy season, based on information available to me. But when I went and inspected the road, I had to retract my words. So now I'm very conscious of giving deadlines, and timelines, because a lot of parameters, quite frankly, are not under complete control because of the nature of the terrain, because of the capacity of, some of the operators there. But we are in there. It's just like when you are in the deep sea, what do? Do you go back or do you forge forward? So we are forging ahead, and I look forward to the day when I'll invite you and we'll drive on that road, and that will be during my tenure by the grace of God before I finish work as Minister of FCT.
But what's the status at the moment on that road?
The status at the moment is that there was a massive hill along the alignment of the road, which was not really well anticipated by the engineers when the road was awarded about 6-7 years ago. And engineering solutions were made, and the hill had to be brought to a particular level, which the engineer will probably explain further, where you needed to align it to the entire road system. And when I went there about 4 weeks ago, I've seen them do substantial work, and we funded them. And I think based on that, just take it from me that we work assiduously to make sure that road is done.
Okay. Yeah, Honorable Minister, thank you very much. You raised an issue about engineers and engineering design. That's why I want to bring in Engineer Kashim Ali. By observation and experience, I often ask myself why Abuja expressways are designed the way they are. I don't know, this is a matter your response probably could inform policy direction by the Honorable Minister. One, why do you have a gutter between the service lane and then the main carriageway of the express? That is one. Two, why do you have the hard shoulder on the service lane and on the left side? So that two-lane service lane, when vehicles want to park, mostly they don't park on the left, they park on the right. In other words, they take up one of those lanes. And occasionally, if one is not careful, if you are driving behind, usually a commercial vehicle that is stopping to pick up a passenger, there have been crashes. So that's one issue that I would like you to speak to. Plus, when you look at the exit from the fast lane to the service lane, or from the service lane to the fast lane, you ask yourself, why is the angle so sharp? And then all those bends, the minister was talking about the bridge from the airport, from Bill Clinton over the Yaradua Expressway to the airport. When you look at the turns and bends, I ask myself, well, there are no trucks. If this were Lagos, you're coming from the wharf, the trucks will be following. Why do we have all these sharp turns when there are no obstacles on the way?
Thank you very much. The truth about Abuja, it was meant to serve so many purposes. To serve as a source of unity for our country. To also to serve as a standard bearer. Everything you've seen done in Abuja is of the highest standard, world standard. And again, because people are coming from the hinterland without appreciation of what has been done, they tend to use them rather roughly. Transportation system in Abuja, there's a master plan for the transportation system. So the places people are parking now are not meant for those. But they just do them because as far as they are concerned, where they are coming from, you can park anywhere and you can move and pick people anywhere and go. But let's take, for example, when you go outside this country, do you see people parking that way? Abuja is not supposed to be comparable to any city in Nigeria. That is the truth in all its ramifications. The concept is for it to compete with modern cities in the world. Not even in Africa. We're looking at competing with cities like New York, like London, Paris. Those are the cities that are supposed to be competing with. That is why everything, the standard of our roads is different from the standard of roads that other agencies have. Look at the road from here to the airport. Once you get to the airport and you leave in the airport to Giri, you see the difference comes in clearly. It comes in clearly because it's not because that one is not well done, but because Abuja's standard is that level. And because you have to make provision for all the docks and everything also, you take your time to do it. So people need to get used to living in Abuja. You get used to using facilities in Abuja. That is where that is the education that people require. Yes, it's a growing city. So some people are getting over familiar with the city and just abusing it. And when at the point government say, okay, sorry, you can't do this again, they take offense. In some states, you can go and say, okay, I want to build a house. If you leave, your neighbor can say, this is my land, just take it and start building. And you build it, and you stay there for the rest of your life. Even it can be in the state capital. But in Abuja, every plot, every land in Abuja, in FCT, is planned. It's for one reason or the other. Whether it is done now or not, when the time is due, the thing will be done. That's why some people, they will see a virgin land, so they think they are going to the thick of the bush. They will go and create this territory for themselves. But that space is for something. Even in the city here, somebody will see a corridor for rail. You go and build, when they want to blackmail, they build religious houses there. So that when the minister comes, if it depends on what religion he is, they will now blackmail him. This is what they did. I experienced that when we were working on the railway line. They built religious houses. In fact, there was one that they even went up to the president to blackmail us. They say, can they adjust the rail? But you talk about, please talk about this issue of the slope, of the hill. There's a minimum slope you must have on a road. With rail, it's even more critical. You can't adjust it. You can't turn your rail anyhow. So if it is planned and designed to go through a particular route, it must go through there. If you don't take it through that route, you have to go back and start again realigning it. It's not like a road that you can say, okay, let's use eye judgment to even. So again, these are the challenges. The real challenge you have in Abuja is not really because of the quality of our infrastructure. It's about understanding how to use them. And people must also understand, because I know people are going to send tweets to ask about water. So let me.
Yes, no,
Clear. Before
I'm not talking about water. Not water directly.
Before you get to water, it's still on this road design. My issue has to do, because it is the rainy season now. You would see on the airport road, sometimes on the Cuba Express, again, of course, there are all kinds of causes of road crashes. Yes. Just check the gutters between the fast lane and the service lane. Yes. You'll find all kinds of vehicles that...
Sorry, I'll talk to that.
They are barely up. That's part of what I want to say.
Let me tell you. You see, what we have, the airport road, is not a usual express road. It's not an express road per se. Because there are settlements bounding the road. Express, yeah. An express in its real form is a freeway. Usually you even put barricades. If there are even houses, there will be barricades. Nobody accesses them. You have noise control measures and everything. And they take the access from somewhere else to come and link. But this is not exactly how these ones were designed. They are designed to complement the city. So the speed limit, therefore, is not high speed. We have limitation of speed. But when you go at that speed, if you go at 80 to 100 on our roads, you have no problem of maneuvering. But when you want to do 140, and you now want to maneuver, you cannot do that. And because sometimes the city is not, the city has its own peak hours and so you have peak hours and free time. When it is not peak hour, the roads are free. When people just see, they just hit it. Sometimes go to 180. Well, what do you expect when you do that?
Kingsley wants
so
to know.
then the drainage. No, I'm coming.
What are they designed to serve?
They are designed to carry our storm water. Because of the nature of our area here, we have high volumes of storm. Yeah. So if you don't make them, and the best way to take storm is use trapezoidal sections. They contain more water. And when you have that, you have to do you also have to do the economies of scale. If we are going to cover, see the length, each one of them at the top there could be up to 1 meter, 1.2. If you have to do slabs, reinforced concrete slab, the cost of that alone will multiply the cost of the road. So now you are not saying, if you drive carefully, you are not going to enter that gutter. So why don't I leave it open to serve also as a barrier because of our excesses? We have excesses. If you cover it, people can even, they'll drive.
They will drive on it.
And drive on it and cross to the road.
Yes.
Just for no reason. So if you leave that, it's a natural barrier. Nobody crosses it. Nobody even jumps over it. Because even pedestrians also abuse the roads. It's not only motorists.
But Engineer Kasim, I also noticed as part of...
So those are creative designs.
Yes. I also noticed that even in designing our roads and our expressways, the pedestrian or the foot walker is not even taken into consideration because there are no sidewalks. The apparent sidewalks for them, are taken over by motorists or commercial motorbikes.
Yes.
Yes.
See, okay, let me add to what Mr. said. On our roads, we have even bicycle ways. We have...
Where?
In Abuja.
Which of the roads?
We have... You see, it's just this abuse. You have, if you have, even in the residential areas, you have walkways, you have bicycle ways, you have cycle, but not the type of the cycles that are being used here. Then you have the motorways. There's a hierarchical structure of our roads. They are well designed like that. But what has happened over the years? That is why I tell some of my colleagues, I say, look, anywhere I've done the project, I try to talk to people because I say, look, don't think there's any free land. If your plot is from here to here, don't exceed it because you think it's free. Nothing is free in Abuja. Because Abuja is still growing, nobody really takes too much extra time, because if you start going forward and you're looking back, you will not make progress. Like one of us say, if his focus was in infrastructure, because if you thin out your money, you will not succeed in doing any project, and all of them will be hanging. And with infrastructure, the danger with infrastructure is if you leave a building, even a building that is simple, a structure like building, if you allow it and rain keeps falling on it, it will break, it will lose, you lose all the investment on it. For road, it's worse. If you do earthworks and you leave a circle of rainfall, the rain will wash it off, and your road is gone. You start all over again. So I think those are the issues that we look at. So we must prioritize. We'll get a time where we will see work with clearly demarcated. People have it in front of the houses. They will go and even cover it up. You know, they'll put parking, they'll do slabs.
It pains me, Engineer, because when I see cars or cadres deprive, you know, the pedestrian the right to walk.
It's excesses.
It's so painful. But please, could you also speak to the parts, you know, the challenge on the Karishi Road? What are the structural encumbrance that are inhibiting, you know, even work, sustained work on that road?
You know, when you design an infrastructure project, budget is very critical. And when you have to overrun your budget, the process of getting augmentation is always tedious. But like now, you have a hill. There are options. Normally, you look at options. What is the constituent of the material? Is it something you can bore through? Sometimes you bore through, not even just not because of the exact structural requirement, but because you want to create aesthetics. So you do that. When you look at all those options, but you must get your vertical curve to be within approved limits. In doing that, you take out a lot of materials. You need to go and find where you keep them. They cost money. When the money is not available, you don't get it done. So if your resources are limited, if you have, like now, if the requirement for that project is 500 million in this year, and all you have is 50 million, you can't do anything. But the danger is when you don't do anything this year, all you have committed this 50 million to do will be washed away again. So that is what we have been going through on that road. It's an unfortunate, I mean, if we had taken it from the beginning, at the time it started, and run through it, it will cost us less and will not be faced with this. But it's worse when you inherit a project that is in that condition. It's worse because, number one, coming in, you will not really appreciate the difficulties. It's when so what you have, you say this, 30 kilometers. I say, okay, 30 kilometers, that is good. Okay, I want to do it. Let's start it. It's when he visits and then he sees the enormity of the project, he knows that what he has is not. So the challenge really is funding. When the funds are available, it will be done. But it has become a lot more expensive than it was initially contemplated.
Engineer Kashim Ali, I know that you are itching to talk about water. We will pause you in the meantime because you have complimented the Honorable Minister in discussing infrastructure. So we'll come to utilities. Let's bring in now the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operations, Sunday Abaji, of the Federal Capital Territory. I don't know how long you've been on the beat here in the Federal Capital Territory, but there are concerns about rising insecurity in parts of the Federal Capital Territory. What do the numbers tell you?
Good morning. I've been in the saddle of Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Operation FCT for the past 2 years, from 2019 to date. And within the Federal Capital Territory, we have been doing our best, and you can testify to it that the security situation in FCT is stable. Though we have a lot of cases of kidnapping, armed robbery, one chance, robberies, mention them. Yet we are on top of the situation. We've been managing them through intelligence-led policing and deployment to critical areas.
When you say you're having these incidents, my question earlier is, what are the numbers telling you? Let's take the one that the common folks get to experience from time to time, which is the so-called one chance. You indicated, let's say the police command indicated at some point that, oh, they had deployed special squads to bust these one chance operators. So what is the situation with that now? And more importantly, the scourge that we find elsewhere in the country, kidnapping. I mean, those who live in the satellite areas, we hear that there are palpable fears about attackers storming their residence and then snatching them away.
Yes, in respect of the one chance, we have been arresting them. We have been enlightening the public, members of the public, to know the type of vehicles they bought at the motor parks. They should shine their eyes and know the type of vehicle they bought. Once you see any vehicle with one number plate, either at the back or at the front, or with tinted glass, don't board it, no matter what. Or you see 2 or 3 occupants and they are saying remaining one chance, you should not enter. That is the aspect of the enlightenment and the education. Then in respect of getting them and reducing the menace within the FCT, we have posted our detectives to various motor parks and areas where they operate. And we've been arresting them and we've been charging them to court. As we speak now, the one chance incidence has drastically reduced within the FCT.
Kidnapping?
Then issue of kidnapping. We have flashpoints where we record kidnappings like Abaji axis, Gwagwalada axis, Kuje axis. We have a lot of deployment with support from the FCT administration at the force headquarters. We have our men deployed as I speak now. No area that is prone to kidnapping that we lack men posted there. I cannot give the number for security reasons, but I assure you the residents there will confirm we have a lot of deployment, SIB, we work in synergy with other sister security agencies like the SSS, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. We are all conducting operations. And equally, we normally conduct joint operation with all the other sister security agencies with support from the FCT administration.
DCP Babaji, thank you. And I really join my voice to appreciate the Commissioner of Police in charge of the FCT. Indeed, that's in the area of collaboration with residents in the satellite areas, at least, to really check the spate of armed robbery. I really want to commend that specifically. But regardless, in the FCT, in Abuja itself, the areas by the mosque, I'm sure you know about that.
Very well,
it's become an area that you dare not ply, even with your cars, with your car windows wound up. You dare not ply around that area in the evening, sometimes even in the afternoon. The areas even around the Nikon Luxury, these are areas that are prone to one chance, to phone snatching and all sorts of criminal activities. Are you overwhelmed by the actions of these hoodlums?
Not at all. We are not being overwhelmed. We are aware of the area of these national mosques. And I will employ you, if you have time, we'll drive any given time. We have RRS vehicles that are stationed along those axes, the national mosques, and we have our men on stop and search 24 hours. We have been receiving complaints about those areas, and honestly, we have done something. As we speak, we have deployed our men and intelligence. Even yesterday, some suspects were arrested in respect of that, trying to snatch phone from a moving vehicle. And they will soon be charged.
Even on your way to the Yanya Maraba Karo axis, I call it the MNK, because that's our area, MNK district.
You said that is my area.
That is our area. Don't worry.
Area.
We know ourselves. We know ourselves. The Maraba Yanya Karo residents. The area just after the Mogadishu bridge, just by the new petrol station, that place is another dangerous spot, especially at night, for those who ply that area. And again, returning to the mosque, these hoodlums, attack you and then jump into the gully there. Are you also doing something about that gully? Because it's not just all about, having your men stationed there. sometimes once they disappear into that gully, they are gone and you can hardly trace them.
Yes, and that is why last year, through the assistance of the FCT administration, you remember there are this plantation there. When they jumped there, they disappeared. So it was caught, and if you go there now, it has been lightened. Before it was dark, it has been lightened now. We have light there at the National Mosque axis in the night. So it is visible. The plantain has been cut off, and honestly, we have not been receiving security situation there again.
What about the area, the Mogadishu axis?
The Mogadishu axis is under our DPO Asokoro and Karu. They share the same boundary. We always put plane vehicles to be monitoring the road in case of any breakdown, especially if your vehicle has broken down. We receive reports. They normally come and attack you with knife. So definitely we have been posting our men in plain clothes to monitor that axis.
All right. DCP Sunday Babaji, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Honorable Minister of the FCT, and Engineer Kashim. Gentlemen, let me give indulgence to call for a short break. When we come back, we'll look at other aspects of FCT administration in 6 years. All right, if you've just joined us, you're right on time. This is the concluding part, and it's Good Morning Nigeria happening live on the network service of the NTA. I know, Kingsley, you have a question, so let me take it back to you.
No, well, thanks, Claire. I just wanted the Honourable Minister to speak to other aspects of what his administration has achieved. He's talked about infrastructure, basically. But in terms of public utilities, we know that the light rail, aspects of the light rail project have been completed. Is the light rail in use, for instance?
Thank you very much. The Abuja Light Rail project is one of these flagship projects that we also reached some very good milestone. As you probably are aware, the entire network is divided into 6 lots, covering a total of about 300 kilometers, linking up all these areas. So we inherited phase 1 and 1A and 3. When we came in 2015, it was about 54% done. So we completed it up to 100%, and it was commissioned in July 2018. And it was operating functionally. And what did we commission? We commissioned the tracks, 44 kilometers of track, standard gauge double track from the Central Business District at the metro station right to the airport, and then of course to the other stations. Along the entire route, we have 12 stations. When COVID-19 came in, we had no option but to stop, because generally, as you know, the light rail system, it's meant to move a lot of people within an enclosed place. Usually the seats are maybe just 20% of the entire capacity. So obviously, for health reasons, we have to stop it. We muted the idea of restarting when the national rail system started, but we realized that because of the configuration of the seating and this peculiar nature of the light rail system, we felt it was dangerous to commence. And I think it was a good decision because, as you know, we got into the second wave December of 2020, January 2021. So now, with the numbers we are having and with the feelers we are receiving and seeing, we hope that give another few months, COVID-19, by the grace of God, will be behind us, and then we'll be able to go back into full operations. And that is good because the set of coaches that we have ordered have started arriving, and they are very beautiful. You need to see them. And we have enough coaches now to be able to energize additional stations. When we commenced initially, we were operating at the airport station, the metro station, and the Idu station. But now we are going to add in another 3 or 4 stations. And during the last few months, we got Federal Council approval to connect the road to Kagini station. Kagini is a very important station for us because it's just by the Kubwa Expressway. And the whole idea is that once we commission that station, then people coming in from the Kubwa axis probably do not need to even drive their cars into the city center. They will just go into Kagini station, park their vehicles, leave their vehicles at home and do, ride sharing and then from there they can move into the city. So it's one project that we are very happy because it's standard gauge, double track, and from the operations we did of about 1.5 years, it has proved very effective. So that's one project that we are very pleased with in terms of rail. Yes.
At the time, residents again have to, refer to that axis because a good number of, workers here and residents come from that angle, that area. That's the Mararaba-Nyanya axis. There was a time people felt the construction, the clearing of the road was basically for the extension of the light rail, for people coming from that axis. Are they also part of the plan? Are they in the plans to enjoy this rail system?
Yes, actually, ultimately, by the time the entire system is done, the Mararaba-Nyanya axis would be connected, because in terms of population movement, in fact, that is the most critical. But why, I think, of course, this predates our administration, why the airport Central City Expressway line was done initially, because it was meant to connect the Mina-Abuja rail as well as the Ajakuta-Abuja rail, and it's all part of the national master plan. So that's why the portion within Abuja was done. But ideally, in terms of movement of people, the Mararaba-Nyanya axis should have been done, and I think it's the next phase that will be done. As you know, the current one is being funded by the China Exim Bank, and we are looking at an idea of how to get proper funding for that particular one. But by the time we go to the next phase, either within this administration or the next administration, the priority will be on that axis. But what we are now doing incrementally, which will add a lot of value, on the existing line that has been constructed, there is a bit of about 5.4 kilometers. From a station called Bazango. Bazango, it's around the Dede area. So the Bazango station is already there. The trucks have reached Bazango station. So with this incremental investment, the trucks will reach Kubwa, and then it will align with the national rail. So once it reaches Kubwa, then the flow will improve, because then people can from the national rail, you can easily go into the Abuja rail and move into the city.
What plans are afoot to replace the aging fleet of buses that are in the city?
The plans are identifying an investor, and we are speaking with quite a number of people, because we've come to the realization that the template used in the past, whereby government always buys buses and passes it to OMCO. OMCO keeps on operating, has apparently not worked because of the very peculiar nature of how the entire traffic is. So now what we are trying to do is, the city, according to the plan, already has very choice locations for bus terminals and designated routes. So we are encouraging private sector partners to just come up and take over the entire bus system. What we need is, quite frankly, seamless travel for people in the city. If we are able to get that, we don't really need to earn any kobo out of it. Let the private sector people do it. But we have now realized also, in a city like Abuja, you can't just depend on the mass capacity buses, which normally have a seating arrangement of 40 to 50 and standing, space of another 25, 30 or thereabouts. So now we are looking at a combination of buses for the major routes into the city and outside the city, and then smaller buses of the 15 to 20 capacity or some SUVs that will move within the internal road network within the city, and then taxis for other areas within the city. But all this has to be private sector driven. Unfortunately, as you know, the economy, even though we are out of a recession now, but over the last couple of years had been quite, tight. But the way I see a lot of construction going on, a lot of economic activity going on, and the interest shown by a number of people, I think we might be able to encourage people. And I want to use the medium of this your popular program to really invite investors. who are interested because the population of Abuja now has grown tremendously, and you go to all the the bus stops, and especially in the mornings and the afternoons, you see a lot of people. So there is a market. If an investor that is well organized, and is able to invest in equipment, office facilities, I think that the business could be profitable. And as an administration, we are going to provide, we'll just have as enablers, we'll provide the right environment. All we need is, we don't want to make money out of it. We just want to have a seamless transportation system that will complement what we already have in terms of road infrastructure.
Okay, Honorable Minister, I'll come back to you to look at your idea of revenue generation and your relationship with the, council areas, within your territory. But let me talk about water now. Engineer Kazim, it would appear that the population of the water boys, that we know as Merua, is depleting. But that's not because reticulated water is readily available. It's basically because a lot of people are now resorting to self-help, either digging of wells or boreholes. Why is that?
Well, I don't want to agree with you in its entirety, because we've done this campaign over the years. It's not very safe to do boreholes in the city, especially in the main city. The reason is, at the beginning, because the sewer system was not fully developed, our water bodies were heavily polluted. Of course, the self-cleansing is going on, and so when you do a borehole, if your residence is bounding a natural water course, there's a likelihood of intrusion of heavy contaminants. In fact, that's why the water board has an urban laboratory. They go out to test people's boreholes so that they can give them certificate of no contamination. Because this was based on a study we had to even do with the hospital many years ago to see what they having. People were falling ill. When they get to the hospital, they get well, they get back home again, they become ill, and they all gastrointestinal things. So we now had to do that. Anyway, so the reason the Meruas are moving is because there's improvement in the reticulation of water. What happens? Yeah, okay, there's improvement. Not in terms, we have enough water.
In Abuja?
Yeah, in the city. Yes, in the city, where we have water. You see, the good thing about Abuja is, that's why I wanted to talk about the data, not about water per se. Minister talked about Abuja development is in phases. And if you look at Abuja, it's a very interesting city. It starts from, if you start from Asokoro, if you were to put a ball down in Asokoro, it will roll down until it gets to Abaji. Yes. That's how Abuja is. So this phase to grow incrementally. But over the years, resources have depleted. The initial intention of government to put all out the money and develop Abuja is no longer possible. So we have to look for creative way of doing it. But you have to link water from one side to the other. I can't, like with phone now, before it was wire, we have not developed the technology for carrying water wirelessly yet. So it's difficult to carry water for research, to take it from where there's no district infrastructure to the other.
In addition to the question that Claire asked, maybe you can use it to clarify it. Again, just by mere observation, I mean, when you are seeing reticulation ongoing, you will see water pipes. Mm-hmm. You will see workmen who are digging. I haven't seen any of them around any of these locations you talk about. I mean, let's say phase 2, if you cross Nnamdi Azikiwe Express beyond, let's say Mabushi, Jahi, what's that location, Kado, and some other places, I haven't seen. So where is the reticulation ongoing? Although we haven't reached those phases yet.
It's not ongoing. It's already there. We had problem of, maintenance is something else. Because, for instance, if your water is not flowing into the lines, there will be no water there. And that could be just a local problem. But what we've done over the period, short period, is we say, look, anywhere that we have our lines terminating, there must be water.
Okay.
Do that. Let's ensure that where we have, so that we can now identify those areas who don't have water. And what we do, since I'm talking like water board now, I have had, in fact, Honorable Minister has become my friend now, because I have bothered him about the need to shift focus to water. And he has assured me, in fact, I had the privilege of being even invited to his house. And he assured me that he was, for the rest of his career, he's going to focus, even this year, he's going to focus a lot on water. So all those pipes he has seen on the road, they'll get back to some contracts were awarded a long time ago before he came. Some of them are highly problematic. You know, the way agreements, and lawyers don't help us in this country.
Why do you say that?
No, they don't. Because the way they frame some agreements, you think they are not even Nigerians. So it makes you exiting contract is very difficult. Somebody will go and get an injunction to stop you from even exiting. Even if you are ready to face the consequences, even exiting is a problem. Somebody is not working, and you cannot exit the contract because the lawyers have put up a kind of.
But that's why you have a legal. That's why you have a legal advisor in-house.
No, that's not. So that's not my point. So if we now, because we have done phase 1, phase 2 substantially, so we need to complete phase 2 and move to phase 2. How do I mean? Because we have a set of reservoirs arranged concentrically around the city, about 10 of them. We have to build all of them and link them to all the phases. We have an integrated system inside. They have to be linked to those reservoirs that are arranged on the periphery of the city for us to have water in good quality and at the right pressure. But some of the tanks are missing. Tank 1 has not been done. It was awarded in 2000, it's so many years ago. It has not been completed. So if you don't complete it, water that will go to Gwarinpa area is the water that is taken from phase 2. Gwarinpa is phase 3. You have to take water from phase 2 to give to phase 3.
Okay.
So those are the challenges we have, but they are not unsurmountable. He has assured and he has taken decisive decision to engage all the contractors who are creating problems for us to get back to site or ship out. So if it takes them,
I was just going to ask again. Sorry, I was just going to point out that water is very strategic to the 2030 development agenda. Very, very strategic. Yes. In fact, it's critical for the attainment of every other goal within that developmental framework. Yeah. So, do we have any strategy to meeting that target, that goal?
Yeah, we have. You see,
Clear
incidentally, I had recently to
very brief before we bring it.
I had to do a lecture on this issue, and you know, the North Central is the worst case in Nigeria in terms of water and sanitation, and we are in this North Central, so we are also part of the problem. So we are looking at all those things. That's why I told you that we had this discussion, and we are going to implement our program so that we can attain. Believe you me, we are on course so far. Just allow some time so that we can crystallize what we have put in information.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. DCP, I want to place you on hold in the meantime. We're getting pressed for time to take this up. Honorable Minister, one curiosity since you've been in office is the absence of a cabinet, a substantive cabinet that ordinarily should work with you. We keep saying acting secretary, acting secretary. Why? You haven't appointed substantive secretaries?
It's offices are always there. It's just the individuals that move, and the work keeps on going. We came in back. I was reappointed in 2019 for second tenure, so to speak. Ordinarily, of course, after a couple of weeks, we established a cabinet. Then COVID-19 hit us. And so for all intents and purposes, if you really look at it, 2020 was a no year. So that's really what happened. And we had some delays here and there. And then we focused ourselves really on fighting COVID-19. And with all sense of modesty, I mean, if you really look at, you find that the team in the medical, for service within the FCT administration and their other colleagues have been able to do it very well with support, of course, from so many people, the federal government, the private sector. So, I mean, that's really one of the main reasons. But we are done now. The cabinet will soon be in place. But don't forget, cabinets are just individuals. Usually,
Okay, so
it's still the same. It's the same administration. I mean, the departments are there and so on. And for instance, usually when a person retires or leaves office voluntarily, the normal procedure is you give someone the next in line to be acting. And usually, of course, by government procedure, you have to follow 1 or 2 steps before you either bring in another person or you make the person substantive. And like I told you, the FCT administration is a very mature bureaucracy with a lot of experts and so on. And usually, maybe if you see somebody acting, it's maybe his immediate boss had left and then another person is coming. But the work has been going on very smoothly, and I commend all the FCT, my colleagues that I've been working together with. And now that COVID is off, we'll be able to, we don't want to distract people, from the core functions they've been doing during this emergency situation. But now that we are out of emergency, I think it's okay.
Okay, let me quickly, I don't know how many more minutes we have, but I would like you to really answer, respond to this question. And my question is, prompted by your plea during the public hearing, your request for a relocation of one of your council areas, that's Amak. Yes, I don't know, what is your relationship in terms of administration, between Amak and the office?
No, I think we need to put that statement that you said I mentioned in its proper context. And what is the context? The context is that in Abuja, we have the seat of the federal government, which is also being run by delegated authority to the minister and by extension the Ministry of the Federal Capital Territory. And also by law and the master plan, we have what we call the Federal Capital City. But by coincidence, also within the federal capital, you have an area council, which in other places is called a local government. So constitutionally, area councils are supposed to collect refuse. Constitutionally, area councils are supposed to name streets. But then we are faced with a situation whereby all the refuse is being collected by the FCT administration, simply because the area councils have no financial or human resource capacity to do it for a mega city. And then all the roads are being constructed. So what we are advocating is that let's go back to the master plan that clearly identifies 250 square kilometers of the Federal Capital Territory as Federal Capital City, so that you don't have duplication of roles. For instance, a typical example is at a junction you may see some uniformed people stopping vehicles.
With cudgels in their hands.
Exactly, trying to say that they are representing a particular area council for revenue. And at the end of the day, you find out the revenue they are asking for is probably 100 or 500 naira. And they do not discriminate between government vehicles, private vehicles, and diplomatic vehicles. You can't accept this in a capital city. So that's why what we are saying is that let the federal capital city, that 250 square kilometers, be solely and 100% managed by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. Then any local or area council activity should be outside of that. So that's the context in which you really need to look at it. And what is it? It's basically to eliminate duplication of roles, to eliminate conflicts, and also to ease business, and also to really allow the city to be what it is, a federal capital city of international standard. Basically, that's
Does that require constitutional amendment?
Yeah, because constitutionally, it says area councils and it demarcates the boundaries. And by coincidence, the federal capital city, Abuja, the seat of government, including where we are here now, is within Garki. And Garki is a district within Amak. So by extension, if for instance AMAC sits down and make a bylaw and says that you should wear white on Wednesday and you don't wear white, AMAC has a law and they can come to you and arrest you and say, why are you not wearing white on Wednesday?
All right, so that means substantive amendment to the schedule to the Constitution, demarcating the area of the...
That's the whole idea.
Okay.
But of course, if you move AMAC outside or any area council that is within the federal capital city, outside the borders of the federal capital city itself, then they can apply and all what constitutionally they are allowed to do. But within the federal capital city, let it just be federal capital city.
Will that affect their revenue generation? Because if you take away AMAC from the capital city, it has nothing.
No, but then obviously it will...
Collecting money now. What are they doing?
No. Obviously it will affect their revenue generation, but then of course what you need to understand also is that apart from what they get from the federal government, by convention also the federal capital territory, whatever it collects, it shares a certain % with the area councils. And in any case, they would probably also will contend with an area where they don't need to spend much to run, you know, so that so I think that is possible.
Honorable Minister, I mean, there's so much more to discuss, but
Yes, sure.
Tell us what should be the caution of potential subscribers. Around the city, there is a rush of private development of estates. And you see the signboards, so and so homes, so and so homes. Some you see them near already developed districts around Maitama or outside Maitama, and so on and so forth. And persons who went into development in the past and then subscribed said the arrangement was for the developers, private developers, to also provide infrastructure. That then became a nagging issue for them. But right now, you are seeing, estates being developed. Some of them are blocks of flats, others are semi-detached structures. I know that the rule is caveat emptor, that's to say buyer beware, but what is your general caution or encouragement to persons who may wish to subscribe to these private development projects?
First and foremost, developments within the city, particularly like you have mentioned, for us is very welcome. Welcome in the sense that, as you know, new building permits and new building developments are one of the very important parameters that you can easily gauge whether an economy is booming or not. And when I see people complaining about Nigerian economy and so on, I tend to feel that sometimes we are not thankful as a people. Because quite frankly, if you look at the amount of activity construction-wise within Abuja, it clearly shows that the economy is moving. There is confidence, people are investing, and each time you build, there is a multiplier effect that allows people to get benefits. And this, as a country, this is something we should look at. And thirdly, you find that we've been out of recession now for 2 quarters, or maybe 3 quarters. And look at other countries in the world, they are still in recession. So these are all positives that we need to project. Having said that,
this should be your last word to the residents of Abuja.
My last word to the residents is that when you are investing in property, when you are investing in anything that is contractual in format, please get experts that will guide you and advise you. Everything in Abuja, everything is done by law. Anything you are not sure, like the presenter said, caveat emptor. But more importantly, use experts. Like Engineer Kashim said, Abuja is not a place whereby you just see a piece of land or you see property and you just buy. No. Go to the right offices, check the documents, pay that extra amount of money to a professional and he will guide you to do the right thing. And also, people should not shy away from using the court system where you find that somebody has not provided you value for your money. Most people will keep quiet, and at the end of the day, people will be cheated and cheated. But we have to test the system and see whether the system will be able to bring out our rights for us. People should fight for their rights.
All right. Honorable Minister, obviously, I'm sure, as you can see, this program is not enough to deal with all the issues about Abuja and the FCT administration. For instance, the streets are still without lights, the streets are still without trees. But I'm afraid I will have to end the conversation at this point. Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Malam Mohammed Musa Bello, Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Engineer Kashim Ali, Board Chairman, FCT Water Board and former President, NSE and Koren. Always a pleasure to have you with us. We didn't have much of you today, but never mind. We'll have you again on our program. DCP Sunday Babaji will be watching. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Operation FCT Command. We do hope that the measures that you have put in place work for us and put an end to all the petty, crimes we experience in the city. Thank you very much.
I mean, DCP is always smiling. I think that's deceptive because it looks tough. He's smiling, but looks tough. All right.
No, but that's the police is your friend smile.
That's right. No, but this is more than that. It's deceptive. You mess with him and then you face the consequences.
All right. That's it
on Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for the week. We are back on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself. I am Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Always remember to join the NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. From all of